now we're looking for a real leading man type. Any volunteers for this one? Come on, a real Tom Selleck type.
Oh, hey, there he is. There's Animal up there. Hey, Animal! Woo!
You, sir, thanks for volunteering. You'll be perfect.
What? Ah! Now, this is a play gun. It's all make-believe. Trust me.
Oh, come on! And they say I overact! Ha!
Hello and welcome to Theme Park History, the channel for everything to do with theme parks. Old and new, big and small. In today's episode, earthquakes, fiery explosions, and a dramatic finale introduces us to the realities of movie stunts as we explore the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, a live-action stunt show that opened at Disney's Hollywood Studios on August 25th, 1989. This attraction was suggested by all these extras, so thank you to everyone for the comments. Inspired by the blockbuster film Raiders of the Lost Ark, the show recreates edge-of-your-seat scenes straight out of the movie, all while revealing the techniques Hollywood uses to fool moviegoers into thinking their favorite celebrity has taken a punch, fall, or bullet, featuring stuntmen and stuntwomen performing elaborate stunts while a director explains what goes on in front of and behind the camera. The longest-running attraction at the park guarantees to wow guests with its movie-making magic. Hollywood Studios. Where do I even begin with you? Before you decided to become inspired by franchises like Toy Story and Star Wars, you dedicated yourself to Hollywood. Not a place on a map, but a state of mind that exists wherever people dream and wonder and imagine. Let's take a look at how Walt Disney World's third theme park embodied Hollywood's golden age in the first half of the 20th century. You know what, fellas, can we cut? Can we stop recording for a second? Yeah, listen, I know we booked the studio for the entire day to get this voiceover work done, but I'm just not in the mood. I don't have the energy for it. Super Mario 3D All-Stars just came out. I haven't played it yet. I'm really itching to get into it. So I've already prepared for this. I spoke to my agent. We're bringing in a voice double to take over for the rest of this video. Don't worry, guys. He's great. I know a lot of money today. Don't worry. I'll pay you back. I swear, I'm good for it. You know I'm good for it. So give me a call when it's finished, all right? I'll take a look at it. See you in a couple days.
Shortly after the grand opening of Epcot in 1982, a group of Imagineers led by Marty Sklar and Randy Bright began brainstorming about what new pavilions could be added within the Future World section of the park. At the top of their list, Imagineers decided to focus on two specific themes: healthcare and Disney's own industry, entertainment. The Wonders of Life Pavilion concentrated on the human body, physical fitness, medicine, and nutrition, while the Great Movie Ride Pavilion enthralled Hollywood, filmmaking, and show business. Originally to be placed between the land and journey into imagination, the pavilion was designed to look like a movie set backdrop, with a soundstage background and a small ticket booth entrance making up the building's facade. The marquee attraction of the pavilion, with everything to do with entertainment, offered an inside look into the magic of filmmaking with a time-bending setting in which guests would not only experience a movie, but be a part of one as well. When newly appointed CEO Michael Eisner saw the plans for the Great Movie Ride, he requested that instead of placing the pavilion in an already existing park, for it to become the anchor for something new instead. In February 1985, at his very first shareholder meeting, Eisner announced plans for a brand new theme park at Walt Disney World, one that was a blend of iconic movie moments and behind-the-scenes magic, which included a backlot tour and working movie studio, Disney MGM Studios. While met with excitement from both Disney and theme park fans, there was controversy surrounding Eisner's announcement, as American media company MCA Incorporated accused the House of Mouse, specifically Eisner, of stealing their concept and ideas for their movie-inspired theme park, Universal Studios Florida. The company did have a case, as in 1981, Eisner, who was the president of Paramount Pictures at the time, was in attendance at a presentation by MCA looking for a financial partner to invest in their park. Construction on Disney MGM Studios began in early 1986, with work fast-tracked once Universal Studios Florida was officially announced later that year. Taking up 135 acres and with a price tag of $300 million, the park is themed to look like the classic Hollywood era from the 1920s to the 1940s, with areas and buildings made to look like real landmarks from La La Land, including Grauman's Chinese Theater and Hollywood Boulevard. Disney MGM Studios would not only operate as a theme park, but also as a fully functioning television and movie studio, giving guests a first-hand view of how such productions are made. As for the opening day attractions within the park, each was a celebration of Hollywood, revealing the behind-the-scenes magic of the silver screen. While planning and developing these attractions, Imagineers had plans for creating a live-action stunt show. However, they couldn't decide what the theme of the show should be. Around this time, the Walt Disney Company and acclaimed filmmaker George Lucas had begun work on the 3D sci-fi musical Captain EO for Epcot. Already in a previous working relationship with Eisner while he was still at Paramount, greenlighting Lucas's first film after Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, he agreed to extend the partnership with Disney to include the creation of attractions based on his films. Specifically in this case, a stunt show now inspired by the Indiana Jones film franchise. Taking place in a theater that can hold up to 2,000 guests, the stunt show highlights several scenes from Raiders of the Lost Ark, showing the audience how stunts are done, revealing the props and skills that allow the excitement to be recorded on film without injury to the star or stunt performer. To capture the essence of Indiana Jones, the show was overseen by Lucas and directed by Glenn Randall, the stunt coordinator for Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. Some of the moving sets that make up the stunt show are some of the largest ever created, standing 40 feet tall, weighing from 40 to 100 tons each, and move around using diesel engines. The boulder used for the show is 12 feet tall and weighs 440 pounds. The stunt show is the first attraction to use computer automation technology to operate multiple systems that set off a controlled sequence of events that occur during the show. The show features 17 stunt performers who initially trained for 9 months on a makeshift stage at a Disney warehouse while the theater was still under construction. Today, the show has at least 3 different casts, one that's performing, one that's an alternate, and one that's learning the stunts and spots of the show. To secure an audition for the show, years of stunt doubling and acrobatic work is required, as well as some previous acting experience, specifically for the actor and actress playing the roles of Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood. Kevin Brassard, one of the original actors who starred as Indy when the show first opened in 1989 and played the role for 27 years, is still a part of the attraction today as the show's director while still training the actors behind the scenes. With a price tag of $20 million, the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular was scheduled to open with the rest of the park on May 1st, 1989, but because of extended rehearsals and tweaking of the special effects, the show officially opened 3 months later on August 25th. Located within the Echo Lake section of the park, the show takes place within a 45,000 square foot theater. Before the show starts, a casting director in charge of getting the extras cast for the film shoot picks out a few volunteers, 3 screaming as if they've fallen into a pit of venomous snakes, 3 laughing up a storm, and 3 striking different poses. All of the volunteers head back to the wardrobe to become a costumed extra during the show. With the extras cast, the show officially begins with a recreation of the Peruvian temple scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indy rappels from the ceiling and lowers himself to the ground. Once he reaches the floor, Indy pulls out a torch and lights it, looking around for any possible booby traps. He stops, looks down, and reads something on the floor. Indy begins to step around blocks on the ground slowly, as one wrong move could spell certain death. Indy loses his footing as spikes shoot up from the ground. He rushes through them as more spikes shoot up all around, one nearly impaling him in the face. Indy makes a desperate dash for the stairs, with more spikes flying up behind him. Indy safely reaches the stairs, where he notices a body impaled on a bed of spikes. Indy brushes aside a few hanging roots to walk by, but the ground gives way, plunging him into a pit. Indy manages to save himself by hanging onto the roots, pulling himself up and swinging himself to the other side. Coming across 3 8-foot statues with axes above their heads, Indy doesn't take any chances, throwing his arm in front of the first and second, but nothing happens. Satisfied with the results, Indy makes his way under the statues, only for the last 2 to drop their axes at him, barely escaping from being chopped in half. Finally reaching the pedestal where the golden idol has been for thousands of years, Indy pulls out a bag of sand, hoping the booby trap won't set it off if he places the bag on the pedestal after he takes the idol. After a few moments of hesitation, Indy quickly switches the idol with the bag, celebrating by holding the idol in the air. However, the swap is a failure as the pedestal begins to sink into the ground, and fire begins to shoot up from the floor and around Indy. A large stone door breaks apart behind him, revealing a large boulder coming straight towards the archaeologist. Indy runs away from from the boulder only to fall under it, which has the crew run out to make sure the stuntman is not as flat as a pancake, who eventually pops up, telling everyone that he's okay. The assistant director of the second unit introduces himself to the crowd, explaining their job is to shoot stunts and action sequences for films like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Throughout the show, the second unit will show guests how these sequences are created, performed, and the detailed preparations put into some of the stunts. The assistant director brings over the stuntman playing Harrison Ford's stunt double, where the two talk about what's going through the stuntman's head when performing these deadly stunts. While this is happening, the two crew members push the boulder back into place. As the next scene is prepared, the assistant director brings the extras back out on stage, who are now in costume, and has them do a few warm-up exercises before the shoot begins. With the extras now warmed up and at their locations, the set director and stunt coordinator of the second unit makes an appearance before filming begins, going over the camera work with the director of photography. With everything in place, the set director is ready to film the next scene and yells action. Now in a marketplace in Cairo, Indy and Marion Ravenwood are shopping when all of a sudden a German military truck pulls around and stops nearby. The driver, dressed in a black suit, jumps out and makes his way through the crowd. A group of attackers disguised as street performers also make their way through the crowd and begin their routine. After a few stunts, they begin to push Indy and Marion into the middle of them, surrounding the two with swords. Having a bad feeling, Indy pulls out his bullwhip to fight back, grabbing the swords with it. Marion attempts to fight back, only to be caught by an attacker, but pushes them away and stomps on their foot. Indy turns to hand-to-hand combat against the attackers and runs to help out Marion, only for her to take a swing at him accidentally. Indy ducks Marion's punch and takes out another attacker right behind her. The two make their way into a pulley system, which takes them up scaffolding, with the attackers giving chase. Making their way up the scaffolding, Indy and Marion fight off tons of attackers, knocking some of them off and sending them crashing below. The duo uses a rope to swing across more scaffolding, only to encounter more attackers. Stuck on the roof with nowhere to go, Indy finds a pole they use to vault over to the next roof. After climbing a ladder, Indy pushes it with an attacker who's giving chase on it, leaving him stranded. However, another attacker grabs it before it hits the ground, pushing back against the building. Indy once again attempts to send the attacker and ladder crashing, but has his plan foiled. Marion grabs a pan, ready to hit the attacker on his way back up, only to hit Indy first before doing so, finally sending both the attacker and ladder to the ground. Realize they are trapped and surrounded, the two have no choice but to jump 30 feet down from the top of the building and land in a storeroom. They run out of the room and back out onto the street, where a giant swordsman jumps up from a pile of rugs as Indy grabs his whip from the ground and cracks it at him. Scared, Marion begins to walk backward, not realizing two attackers are sneaking up behind her. They grab Marion and throw her into the back of the truck as it speeds off. Realizing the situation, Indy drops his whip, pulls out his gun, shoots the swordsman, and runs after the truck. Indy doesn't get very far, as a gunner takes shot at him from a nearby roof. Indy eventually hits the gunner, causing him to fall off the building. Grabbing the gunner's machine gun, Indy starts running in the direction the truck took off in, only for the truck to come around a corner behind him. Indy shoots at the truck, causing it to flip over and explode. The set director yells cut, and the crew rushes to put out the fire as the stunt woman playing Marion is still inside. However, she emerges without a scratch. As the last scene is prepared, the set director brings out the demolition expert, who can only describe his job as dangerous. With a few minutes until the next scene is ready, the set director asks the casting director if he can borrow one of the extras. The director asks the extra if they can throw a punch, as they will be in a fight. The stunt woman that plays the mechanic in the next scene shows up behind the extra, who scares him away. Not a fan of the size difference, the director sends the mechanic back to prepare for the last scene, and instead brings out the stunt woman who plays Marion for the fight demonstration. Marion goes on to punch the extra numerous times, who has terrible timing and coordination. It's revealed this extra is one of the stuntmen that's part of the show, which is a good thing because otherwise, Disney would be sued for assault. The set director explains the last scene filmed today takes place in the North African desert, where Indy and Marion are attempting to escape from an enemy camp, and goes over some last-minute changes with stunt performers before filming begins. At the airfield, mechanics are running back and forth, dropping off ammo and gasoline to the storage area. A gunner sits on top a hill nearby, ready to shoot any intruder, and a motorcycle speeds into the area, waiting for something or someone to arrive. A German flying wing makes its way down the tarmac, with the head mechanic guiding it before finally coming to a stop. The pilot gets out of the cockpit and mouths off to the head mechanic before getting on the motorcycle and driving away. Hiding behind a set of gasoline barrels the entire time, Indy and Marion make a break for the plane, but the gunner notices the two and notifies the mechanic, who runs over, grabbing Indy and demanding Marion off the plane. Indy attempts to fight the towering mechanic, but his punches don't faze the giant at all. Indy tries to run away, but the gunner fires at him, scaring Marion, who jumps into the cockpit, shutting the door and locking it. The mechanic calls off the gunner and begins punching Indy, knocking him down. Marion accidentally hits the controls, and the plane starts to spin out of control. The plane's wing clips a gasoline tanker, causing gas to spill onto the ground. Marion takes control of the machine gun mounted in the plane and fires at the gunner on the hill, killing him and igniting the ammo and gasoline storage area. Indy gets away from the mechanic, jumps on the plane, and tries to get Marion out of the plane, but is once again grabbed by the giant, who throws him into one of the wings and kicks him away. A truck with a mounted machine gun and a group of soldiers with rifles pulls around and begins shooting at the plane, but Marion once again uses the machine gun to fire back, hitting the soldiers and the engine of the truck, causing it to explode. Indy is once again thrown around by the mechanic, getting knocked down by his punches. The mechanic taunts Indy, but doesn't realize the plane is circling back, unaware of the propeller heading right towards him. The propeller hits the mechanic, killing him. Marion brings the aircraft to a halt as Indy scrambles to get the cockpit door unlocked. Explosions and fire erupt from the storage area, as the gas from the gasoline truck ignites on fire from the explosions, beginning to race towards the tanker right where the plane is. Running out of time, Indy pulls out his gun and shoots the lock, pulling Marion out of the cockpit. The two jump off the plane and run for it before the fire hits the tanker, causing a major explosion. With the two safely away from the area, the assistant director yells "cut" and says that's a wrap for today, thanking everyone for coming to the show. Nearby is Indiana Jones Adventure Outpost, where Dr. Henry Walton Jones Jr. merchandise is sold. The 30-minute show has been met with positive reception from guests, as many have praised the open and somewhat humorous look into the world of stunt action in movies inspired by one of the most popular film franchises ever made. With an average of 5 performances a day and over 1,800 each year, there's no doubt the Stunt Spectacular is one of the most reliable and entertaining experiences the park has to offer. Even though it's full of pyrotechnics, special effects, and mechanical parts, the stunt show has seen minimal downtime over its 30-year time span. The only major intermission was when the show closed down for a 6-month refurbishment on January 11th, 2000, as it wasn't fully serviced since opening in 1989, ratcheting up close to 31,000 performances. While there were no significant changes to the actual show, an all-new, state-of-the-art lighting and sound system were installed. Many of the mechanical portions of the special effects used throughout the show were rebuilt, and the sets were touched up and repainted. To celebrate the show's reopening on June 10th, 500 people, mostly from the Orlando area with the last name Jones, were invited to be in the audience. Ever since its major refurb back in 2000, the show hasn't seen much work done, with some of the special effects no longer properly working. While no official announcement has been made, it's rumored the show might eventually close for an extended period to undergo a significant overhaul, with updated scenes and the removal of the working studio theme that ties back to when the park opened in 1989, set to reopen in the summer of 2021, just in time for Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary celebration. The rumors of a revamped stunt show is welcomed news to fans, as for most of the last decade, it has been reported the show would either change, close, or be replaced to better blend with the other Star Wars attractions of Disney's Hollywood studios. Speaking of Star Wars, did you know that for one night only, there was a crossover between George Lucas's 2 biggest franchises? Raider of the Lost Jedi Temple of Doom, a fan film of epic proportions, was a one-night-only special stage show on August 14th, 2010. As part of the Star Wars celebration commemorating the closing of Star Tours, the stunt show was altered to include both Star Wars and Indiana Jones characters, with its story focusing on 2 rival fan filmmakers, one a Star Wars fan, while the other an indie fan, working together to make the most ambitious fan film ever, featuring Jones retrieving a golden lightsaber, escaping the clutches of the bounty hunter Boba Fett, saving Princess Leia, and fighting off Darth Vader. The ultimate film mashup show was well received due to its numerous humorous references to both franchises. For over 30 years, the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular has offered a behind-the-scenes look at how professional stunt artists defy death to recreate dramatic moments from the iconic film. Filled with tons of dazzling effects, pyrotechnics, scene changes, and mind-boggling tricks of the trade, the stunt show is a non-stop, action-packed experience filled with tons of oohs and ahs, guaranteed to leave guests on the edge of their seats. While much of the original working film studio concept of the park has been removed, the longest-running attraction attraction at Disney Hollywood Studios still placed to capacity crowds several times a day. It just goes to show you that it's not the years, honey, it's the mileage.
Fantastic job, my man. Really good work. That's why we hired you. We pay you the big bucks. But, you gotta go now because the star has to finish the video, alright? Don't worry. Don't call us, we'll call you. Yeah, you know how it works. Don't worry about it. So where are we? Alright, here we go. So that is the theme park history of the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. A special shout out to all the theme park fanatics on my Patreon in the description down below. As always, thank you for watching the video and supporting the channel. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if there's any attraction you would like us to cover in a future video, leave a comment down below. Once again, thanks for watching, and until next time, when you're fighting a stunt person you intend to miss. Get it? It's a stunt joke. Get it? Anyone? Hello? Guys? Guys, I see you leaving the booth. Where are you going? Come on back. Guys? I thought it was funny.
How'd I get in this place? One minute I'm on stage, the next minute I'm in the Temple of Doom. That's okay, because I'm Donnie Jones. There I go. Got it. Yeah. Man, just think of how many gold chains you can make with this thing. Oh, what's going on? Oh, no. Oh, I just did a show and now I gotta win from this giant ball.